What's good, YouTube? Justin Righteous is here. I like to yap on world topics. Back with another reaction video. Today we have kind of a little bit of a more different video than the ones I usually react to. Asking Palm Beach billionaires how they got so rich. So maybe we're gonna learn how to get rich today. Gang, let's go ahead and get the secrets. This guy makes amazing videos. He has great interview skills, and he's very consistent and very hardworking, and he is inspiring. So let's go ahead and watch what we learned today. Let's get straight into the video.
Sir, what did you do to become wealthy?
What's that?
What did you do to become
Got a brother-in-law, rich brother-in-law.
a rich brother-in-law? I'm going around Palm Beach asking people what they did to become wealthy. I'm going around Palm Beach asking people what they did to become wealthy.
You're gonna hear the oddest story of your life then.
Let me hear it.
You'll never hear of a career like this in your entire life. I
Tell
promise
me.
you that.
I didn't even go to university.
You didn't go to college, but you started a $500 million a year business.
Well, no, my business is $1 billion.
What business made you the most money?
Wow.
Now I'm in private equity.
Now you're in private equity.
Right.
What's the most amount of money you made in a single year?
I don't know if I want to be on this.
I'll show you the channel after. I promise you it'll be worth it.
A few $100 million.
The company did multi-billions of
$200
dollars in
million.
revenue a year. So
What was the highest role that you held in that company?
I was the CEO.
Of what company?
I don't want to tell you guys.
What's the name of it?
It's a good company. It's a public company.
Do you think a lot of people know the company?
Probably. You'll have to look this up.
How old were you when you made your first million?
I think I was 25.
What's
Nice.
the most amount of money you made in a single year?
We had a case that resolved for $54 million.
54 million.
The one thing I'll leave you with, advice to anyone, it would be if you're going to get rich,
You guys, I'm in one of the wealthiest cities in not just Florida right now, but in the entire world. I'm in West Palm Beach, home to over 60 billionaires with a B. And today I'm gonna be going around the wealthiest areas, the wealthiest part of West Palm Beach to find billionaires and ask them how they built their wealth and how you could become financially free in today's world. This video is about to be insane from start to finish, so stay tuned until the end. With that being said, let's get this video on the way.
West Palm Beach, eh? Okay. Is that Florida?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, how old were you when you made your first million?
I haven't made it yet.
No? Yes, you have. Come on, come on. Real quick, I have the biggest business media channel in the world with 12.7 million followers. I interview business owners all over the world for the younger generation. Can I get 30 seconds with you?
Recording this?
Yeah. Wait, can I get 30 seconds with you?
No, I'm going down. That's part of making your first million.
What's that?
Never have 30 seconds with anyone.
Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million?
Thank you.
Real quick, yeah. No, real quick. Real quick. I have the biggest business media channel in the country. I've
I know,
interviewed
that's really
the
great.
owner of the Texans.
Wait, how do you know he made the first million and I didn't make it?
He looks like money. He looks like money. One advice to an entrepreneur in today's world: they're trying to grow their business.
Really don't.
All right, man. Have a good one, man. Have a good one. Excuse me, sir. What did you do to become
I
wealthy?
like how he's posting the
I
rejections.
started one of the biggest.
No, we're having a meeting. Sorry.
I know, I was talking to him, I wasn't talking to
No,
you.
we're having a meeting.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million?
Pardon?
How old were you when you made your
Oh,
first
that's a
million?
long time ago, son.
But what line of business are you
Okay.
in?
Pardon, I'm in med tech,
Med
but
tech?
I'm not up for interviews.
So I have the
Med
biggest
tech.
business media channel in the world. I've interviewed Shaq, the CEO of Nike and 7-Eleven. Can I get 1 minute with you?
Nice.
So
The
as
CEO
you
of
guys can see,
Nike.
Since we're out here in Palm Beach, the wealthiest city in all of Florida, it is not easy to get these people to do interviews. They are private. Some of these people are worth hundreds of millions, billions of dollars.
Why are they so
it's not
private,
easy
bro?
to
What
get
they
them
trying to hide?
stop. But remember, the motto stays: no does not mean never. It just means not yet. So we're gonna keep this one rolling and go get a mogul out here in Palm Beach for you guys. Come on. Excuse me, sir. What did you do to become wealthy?
What's that?
What did you do to become wealthy?
Got a brother-in-law, rich brother-in-law.
A rich brother-in-law? I'm going around Palm Beach asking people what they did to become wealthy. I'm going around Palm Beach asking people what they did to become wealthy.
You're gonna hear the oddest story of your life then.
Let me hear it.
You'll never hear of a career like this in your entire life. I
Tell
promise
me.
you that.
Tell me right now.
I got out of college and I got behind the wheel of a truck and sucked gravel off of rooftops. So on commercial buildings,
I was about
10 stories high, 5 stories high, all over the 5 boroughs of New York.
Thought I
I
was about to
sucked
say something
gravel off
else.
of roofs instead of wheelbarrowing and shoveling gravel off. From that, I got into industrial cleaning, power plants, refineries, steel mills, and built
Damn.
a vacuum truck business nationwide and a liquid storage tank business nationwide.
So what's the biggest year you
Damn.
had in revenue? What's the most you made in a year?
I won't disclose that, but it's public knowledge. I sold to 4 public companies.
Wait, so real quick right here. So real quick, so I have the biggest business media channel in the world. I interviewed like the CEO of Nike, the CEO of 7-Eleven. Could I get 30 seconds? It's for the younger generation. Real quick though, how important was vertical integration?
The hardest part in business is people, managing people.
Yeah, wait, could we walk with you for 30 seconds? I promise you. Listen, I need to need to get one interview while I'm out here, man. I've had a rough time today. The old people don't want to do it. So just a couple questions, man.
Sure.
Now, you sold to 4 public companies, so you were dealing with some sharks. What was your secret to sales? How did you get in front of those customers and sell to them ultimately?
Knocked on doors cold. Just knocked on doors. No cell phones, beepers, and payphones.
So did you have any money when you started the business?
No,
or
zero.
Did you ever raise money or borrow any money?
Nothing. Nothing. All organically grown.
It was just kind of like you got the profits, put it back into the business, and just kept growing it. But what was the best financial decision you made throughout your career?
Great question. Betting on myself.
Right. Did you come from a rich family?
No.
So how did you change your family's trajectory?
I bought my first vac truck for $180,000. Today they're worth $500 to $600. But I bought it with some money I saved over time and paid it off.
And then talk to me about scaling. It's one of the hardest things to do. People will have a great idea. They don't know how to scale and grow it.
Don't try to go to 0 to 100. Grow 0 to 5 feet, then 10 feet, 15. Take your time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I could do this all day if you really wanted me to coach. Don't go for the quick money. Go for building a business that's worth something to many
So you thought very long term is what you're saying.
Yes.
You didn't think about instant gratification.
Never can.
Did you ever lose money?
Have to do it for love. You lose money sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
I've only closed one office out of 40 in my career, but you got to do something that you love. It has to be internal passion. You can't get up every day at 4 in the morning if you don't love it for 30 straight years.
Talk to me about customer retention, because a lot of people, they'll get a client, they'll lose them within a couple months. How did you maintain customers for such a long period of time?
You got to stay the same person. Don't change. Stay loyal, hungry, and become friends. You never have customers. They become your best friend. Buy them ice cream, buy them hot dogs, and that's how you get somewhere.
Did you ever have anybody that doubted you in business?
Oh, that's the best people I want to go after.
Give me that year. What's the biggest? You said it was public in terms of revenue. What's the most amount of money you made in a year? Was it hundreds of millions or?
Yeah, north of 100 I sold. I got to go celebrate a birthday.
Can I get your contact?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.
Reach
Sir,
out
I
anytime.
really appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother. Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million?
I think I was 25.
How'd you make it that early?
I was in mortgage banking in San Francisco.
So did you own a company or were you just?
I did. I started a mortgage company. It was a mortgage bank.
How'd you get into that business, and why that industry in particular at that
Because
age?
real estate was popping off in California, and the most expensive real estate, well, San Francisco. So that was where we started.
So what business throughout your career made you the most amount of money?
I would say the legal
like how his
business,
wife is
the
just-
litigation business. I'm a lawyer.
She's just back there just smiling, you know what I mean? She's so proud of him. She's like, man, my man got money. She's just looking at, man, I forgot I was doing a reaction video. I'm not even gonna I was so locked into this video, to the advice that this guy was giving, like trying to absorb it. I literally forgot I was doing a reaction video. I'm not even gonna lie.
What type of law do you practice?
We do personal injury and mass tort cases.
So across your firm, in terms of revenue, what's the most amount of money you made in a single year?
We had a case that resolved for $54 million.
$54 million. What happened in that case?
It was a personal injury claim for someone who was injured in a car wreck case.
It's very competitive in personal injury. There's a lot of people that are competing. How did you build your personal brand and stand out to get those kind of cases to settle for multiple 8 figures?
I became an expert at SEO and advertised on the
SEO.
web before it was popular, and that brought in all the cases, and that's how we got it launched.
Give us some game right here on marketing and SEO, because again, people can be great at what they do, but no one may know what they do.
Don't try to pursue SEO. It's all but dead. Get out there and market yourself on social media. So if you go to Bryce Angel, you'll see on Instagram, Facebook, all those channels, you'll see me on there, and it'll show you what to do.
Did you come from a rich family?
I did not.
So what was your turning point to financial freedom? What made you want to kind of go out there and build a multi-million dollar
Starting
business?
my own company as a young kid.
Now, you made a lot of money, but a lot of people say it's hard to keep a lot of money. How have you preserved that kind of wealth?
You hire financial professionals that can help you manage everything better than yourself, because you need a parent in the situation.
So you're all about finding people that are maybe better at the areas where you're lacking.
The
right?
goal is to be the dumbest guy in the room. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
So if you found yourself in the room where you're the smartest, you get
I'm
out
going
of
to
that
take the
room.
exit.
My last one.
That's a good one, man. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. You know, I cut some people off, you know, very recently in my life. You know, some very close people, because I realized that, you know, they might not have been the best influences, or maybe just had a different, you know, worldview than mine. So it might have created a clash. You know, but if you're around people that don't do anything, they just want to play video games and talk about nothing, talk about girls, talk about the last NBA game, and doesn't want to talk about growth, doesn't want to talk about how to be a healthier version of yourself, doesn't want to talk about how to help others, how to build something valuable in life. If these aren't the conversations that you're having with your people, then you're never going to accomplish any of these things.
for you. Your best sales and negotiation advice as a lawyer. You've been at the table with some hitters, closing a $50 million settlement. What's your best sales and negotiation advice as one of the most successful lawyers out here in Palm Beach?
Don't be prepared to do the deal at the table. Be prepared to do the deal outside the room.
What does that mean?
Oh, really?
You walk away.
Yeah?
And you deal the deal later. You'll always get a better deal if you leave it on the table and walk away.
Can you tell me a quick story about a time when you had to walk out of a room and maybe it was a hard decision, but you had to make it for the long term of your success?
When you have $30 million sitting on the table, they're offering you that to sell the case, and you say no, and we're leaving, and you grab your client and you walk away.
So you're not about instant gratification.
No.
You play the long game.
The longer play pays better.
I love that, man. You got amazing advice, man. Thank you so much for your time. What's your name?
Bryce, Angel. Yep.
James Dumoulin. You guys, we just interviewed the owner of one of the biggest law firms out here in Palm Beach. He's from Atlanta, but he just gave you guys some incredible advice throughout that entire interview. My favorite part is when he talked about when he negotiates, he had $30 million on the table, but he didn't settle. He said he walked out of that room and he walked away and he ends up closing what? A $50+ million settlement. Crazy good interview out here in Palm Beach. We got to keep this one rolling and go get another one, you guys. Come on. Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million? Come on. We're gonna get him, bro. Come on. Sir, how old were you? Could you give me one advice to a new entrepreneur in today's world? They're trying to grow a business like you.
No, I sold my business.
For how much? Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million?
Who wants to know?
I started one of the biggest business media channels in the entire world, where I go all over the world interviewing the most successful business owners for the younger generation. Yeah. Wanted to know if I could ask you a couple questions for 1 minute real quick.
I like to remain kind of quiet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What line of business were you in?
Man,
Look, fellas, I don't know who you are and I don't know where this is
Why
going
they
to go.
so,
So I'm not
Real quick,
excited to...
I just want to show you real quick, just that way you can kind of get an idea. This is my channel right here. So you see I just have my hero today. So we go all over the world and just asking people some questions on how they made it for the younger generation. We've got 5.4 million followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So just asking people a couple career advice. So it's a very legit platform. We've done stuff with like the owner of the Houston Texans, the CEO of Nike, the CEO of 7-Eleven.
What's your name?
James Dumoulin.
James Dumoulin.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So how old were you when you made your first million?
I don't know. I was reasonably young, I guess.
Yeah. What line of business were you in?
I worked.
So notice how most of these people were young when they made their first million. So the richest city in America, Florida, they were young. Like has 60 billionaires in that city or region, West Palm Beach, and most of them made their first million when they were under 30. That's what I'm guessing. You know, they say they were pretty young. That's an interesting dynamic.
For a company my entire career, business service company, and I think there's a lot to be said for working in one place as long as it's a good company. It doesn't matter what they do, it's got to have an opportunity and it's got to have a culture that's going to allow people to succeed, and that's what we did.
What was the highest role that you held in that company?
I was the CEO.
Of what company?
I don't want to tell you guys.
What's the name of it?
It's a good company, it's a public company.
It's a public company?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like what I guess area is it?
Why are they
It's
so
business
private,
services.
bro? What are they
You think a lot of people know
hiding?
the company?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna, if it's public, it's public knowledge, right? Like, could you say what company it is?
You'll have to.
We've done a lot of public CEOs.
You'll have to look this up.
Let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Leadership is the downfall of a lot of companies in today's world. And you ran, how many employees did you have at one time?
42,000.
42,000?
Wow.
It's the most amount of money you made in a single year.
The company did multi-billions of dollars in revenue a year, so we did well generating high single-digit revenue growth for 50 years.
Are you a billionaire?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
Are you still the CEO of the company?
No,
he
I'm
is.
not.
You're
I'm not. No.
So why did you retire?
I was there for 18 years as CEO, and there's a point in time where you realize you're not running at the same pace that you were in your younger days, and it's time to turn it over to somebody else.
Right. Let me ask you this. I'm going to go back to real quick. You were the number one out of 42,000. You had 42,000 employees. What was the biggest driving factor of your success that enabled you to work your way up and become a CEO of a multi-billion dollar company?
Advice to who? Who am I giving the advice to?
Somebody's starting out at a corporation right now,
Okay.
and they want to work their way up and become a CEO. Because most people, they can't even imagine that. Like that seems so unreasonable to people.
Right.
But you put it in reality.
Every day, I went to my boss at the end of the day and I said, I'm done with what I had to do today. Is there anything else you want me to do? Sometimes they'd say no. Occasionally they'd say yes. I need this. Can you help me with this? But my boss eventually thought that I was their right-hand person because every single day I'm coming to him and asking him, is there anything else I can do? And when your boss thinks you're their right-hand person, when their boss comes to him and say, we need somebody to do something else, do you have anybody? The people that are volunteering to do all that extra work are the ones that get the chance to do it. Now, every time you get that extra chance, now you got to perform. You got to do a really good job. But my advice is be your boss's right-hand person. Be there. Be there all the time. Go to them every day. What else? Can I do anything for you? Sometimes they give you stuff to do, but what they're giving you to do were things that they had to do. So you're learning some of your boss's job by doing that sort of thing. So that would be my advice. You got to work your butt off.
How did you deal with all that pressure? Because you got to worry about shareholders.
Because, you know, a lot of these people, they're talking about, like, when you're working a job, like, how do you move up? How do you move up in that job? A lot of people nowadays do not want to work a job. They want to build their own business. So I think the similarity to what he's saying would be find a mentor, find someone that already did what you're trying to do, and become their right-hand man. Ask them if they need help.
You got to worry about employees. You got to worry about customers. You got to worry about prospective clients. How did you manage to stay calm when you have immense pressure like that? Because, again, to have 40,000 people working on you, you've got people that are investing in your company. You got to perform. How did you manage that, man? That's incredible.
That is pretty crazy.
Easy. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. I guess the best way to say it is, as you move up the organization, you kind of get used to different levels of pressure. I tell my kids that life doesn't quit throwing hard problems at you. You just get more used to dealing with them. And as you get more used to dealing with them, you don't overreact as much as you did when you were younger. So, you know, it's like the frog in the kettle, and you turn the temperature up. They don't realize it's going up. It's just going up. That's what happens in business with the kind of pressure that you take on as you move up into more and more responsible positions in the company.
Who's the number one person that had the biggest impact on your career in terms of like a success standpoint? Who did you learn the most from?
My father and my predecessor as CEO before I took over the role were probably my biggest influences in business. My dad was a businessman as well, and I learned an awful lot from him when I was young.
Was a businessman.
When I took the role of president of our company and I worked directly for my predecessor, I learned so much.
So he made $1 million.
What was the lowest point in your career?
Don't make me go there.
Let
Come
him
on,
know.
I got to run.
All
right.
Give me that last one, because I think that adversity helps people to get them to understand.
I mean, anybody who spends a career in business has more problems that you deal with than you do upside.
What was your name, sir?
I'm Scott.
Scott, last name?
I'm Scott.
Scott, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Guys, we just interviewed a billionaire out here in Palm Beach. He wouldn't say who he was or what company he worked for, but we looked him up, and his net worth is over $12 billion. Guys, Palm Beach has been crazy. We're headed right now to go get our next interview. But before we do that, I want to give to you guys one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received while running this channel. And it's that if you don't own your online presence as a business owner, you don't own your
bro's
business.
eyes
What you have to understand
are so green. They look like
your
they
website is the first
blue,
thing that your
look like they
customers
glow in the
ever
dark.
see. But let's be real, building one can be overwhelming, and a lot of entrepreneurs waste their time and money trying to piece one together. And that's why I love Odoo, because they have a website builder that mentions your website description of this video to try it out for free. And with that being said, let's get back to these interviews. Sir, how old were you when you made your first million?
42.
And what line of
That's
business
how he
were
turned
you
around right away.
Industrial equipment, sales, service, rental, generators, that type of thing.
Did you own a company?
I've owned a couple, Canada and in here. Down
What business
in the
made
US.
you the most money?
The business I'm running right now.
What is it?
Well, it's a business that sells generators across the U.S. and heavy equipment.
Wow.
What's the most amount of money that you've made in a single year?
$500 million.
$500 million.
Wow.
What happened that year you did 500 mil? That's incredible.
Oh, it was just order intake.
How did you scale from 8 to
it was just order intake.
$500 million in a single year?
It was just a couple of key customers that locked in on some very strong orders for us. And AI is driving a lot of my business in the data center business. I supply generators to data centers all over the world.
So you like AI?
AI is huge. It's like the industrial revolution right now.
How can
He supplies generators to AI data centers, bro. Because everyone says get into AI, but we're thinking create your own AI app or like use AI to make content or something. But he's supplying power to AI data centers. That's like a different spectrum. That's like a different perspective of, you know, the AI revolution.
somebody leverage AI in their business right now? Because a lot of people hear artificial intelligence, they think
that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. Leveraging AI from an intelligence standpoint in my business operation.
That's what people
what's
mostly
fueling
think about.
My business.
Most people, when they talk about using AI, is leveraging AI.
Is the surge that AI has on data centers. If you do an AI search versus a Google search, it's 10x. So that just drives added demand for standby power for data centers and just base load energy as well.
How did you get into this business? It's a very niche and very specific business. Everybody thinks that.
No, I'm very diversified. I'm in oil and gas. I'm in commercial vehicles and things of that nature. I do a lot of different things. So I got a lot of geographical diversity and I've got a lot of sector diversity. I got a lot of guys that like to do the right thing for our customers.
Right. Did you come from a rich family?
No.
You didn't?
I was a mechanic.
Were your parents wealthy?
No.
So what was your
I
turn?
didn't even go to university.
You didn't go to college.
Oh, wow.
But you started a $500 million a year business.
Well, no, my business is $1 billion.
You've been at the table with some hitters. What's the biggest deal you ever closed?
Probably about a $250 million deal with one customer with one order.
Talk to me about your negotiation strategy
Wow.
there. To go and close a $250 million deal, what was your mindset going into that deal? How did you close that
Well,
deal?
first of all, developing a relationship with that client, making sure that he has a sense of trust. He's going to be spending a lot of money and making a big commitment to your company. So a big part of that is making sure that that customer is reassured at every step that when he makes that, because everyone's got choices.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do business with me or my company. So I got to make sure that his decision to do business with me is a sound one, and he's reinforced that in that confidence day in and day out, and staying connected with these guys.
But whenever you
no
have
surprises.
Whenever you have a prospective client that's on the fence, they're leaning towards a no. What's kind of your strategy to get them back over to a yes? Give me a negotiation or a sales tactic that's helped you a lot.
I would say it's largely just the relationship building exercise. Whether you take a guy out on a golf course, take him for dinner, take him on a boat for a weekend, there's a lot of ways of developing that trust. A lot of guys use golf courses for doing that. A lot of guys use going fishing or taking them on a holiday. I blend it depending on what the nature of the customer is. Oil and gas guys, they like to go shooting hogs from a helicopter. I mean, every different strokes for different guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like the other guy said something about building a relationship too is the most important part of closing deals and things like that. And my ex, her dad was a financial planner. So guys that had a lot of money or whatever, they would want to retire, they would go to her dad and he would give them a retirement plan on investments and things of that nature. And he was, they were very humble and stuff. Like he had a good amount of money. Well, he had wealth, he didn't spend much. He was frugal, but he had a BMW X6 or something like that. But the only reason, he wasn't a car guy. The only reason he had the BMW X6 was for when he would go on dates with clients, when he would go on business meetings, when he would go golfing with his clients, doing activities with his clients. It was for the image, for trust, so the clients understand that he has money, he knows what to do with his money, he works well with money, so they would trust him and they would give him their money. So he makes it's very interesting.
You study your clients is what you're saying.
Yeah, got to know your demographic, got to know who you're dealing with. Are you dealing with bankers? You're dealing with guys in major markets like Chicago, Washington, New York. Are you dealing with guys in the oil field down in Midland, Odessa? Two different kinds of clientele, and you got to deal with them appropriately. If I was to wear a suit going in to meet with a guy down in oil and gas down in Midland, Odessa, in the Permian Basin, I wouldn't get a deal done. I dress down for those kinds of environments.
That's fascinating.
But they spend great money.
Nobody talks about that, though.
If I'm dealing with a guy in Chicago or New York or Washington, it's a whole different wardrobe. It's a whole different approach. And it's also, it's a different environment where I put myself in with that guy to make him feel comfortable.
What was your superpower as a business owner? What did you do better than anybody else?
Communication.
But when you say communication, where do most people struggle? Or what's a communication advice?
Transparency. I'd say being available. Like my office door, it's glass, and it's glass for a purpose.
What does that mean?
People can see what's going on. When I have my closed door meeting, it's glass. People don't think there's a big conspiracy going on where I'm changing the board or I'm changing
he's
the
not
employees.
private. He's not private like all the other ones. He's not private like all the other ones. He's talking about transparency. I think that's the most important thing of the new age is transparency. Like all those other guys, they probably contributed to a little bit of corruption every now and then. I don't know. I'm just saying because obviously America has a huge corruption problem and lying and doing things behind closed doors, but with the internet, everything is exposed, and whoever can leverage transparency is obviously going to be successful in this new age.
Makes them feel more comfortable. When you go behind a big oak door into a big office, into a boardroom, people don't know what's going on. So I want my employees to know that I'm working in their interest as well as my own interest and just having that transparency. So if there's some change in the company, whether it be a financing change or a strategy or an embarkment on a new growth segment, they are the first to know. They are going to always be the first to know. They're going to hear from me, whether it be through a town hall, I do a fly-in, whatever it may be.
What's your name?
Yeah, John.
John, great to meet you, sir. I appreciate you. Guys, we just got another mogul out here in Palm Beach. He said my business does $1 billion. The amount of wealth that is out here in this city has to be more than any city I've ever been in my entire life. But we got to keep this one rolling and go get another one and go find some more of this Palm Beach money for you guys. Come on, you guys, let's go. Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you made your first million?
What is this for?
I started the biggest social media business channel in the entire world where I interview millionaires and billionaires all over the world on their advice to the younger generation. So I've interviewed people like Shaquille O'Neal, Mark Cuban, the CEO of Nike. What did you do to become wealthy?
What did I do? I've owned 4 or 5 companies.
What was your main business?
Started in printing, then got in the display business, then the carton business, all sorts of things. So now I'm in private equity.
Now you're in private equity.
Right.
What's the most amount of money you made in a single year?
Yo, what is private equity, man? I hear that very often. We are going to search that up right now, bro. Private equity. What is private? Typically, private investment groups are geared towards long hold multiple year investment strategies in illiquid assets. Okay, whole companies. Okay, so they invest in like companies and the type of alternative investment in which investors purchase shares. Okay, so they buy shares in they buy shares of businesses. So they invest in businesses kind of like a venture capitalists, I guess, where they have more control and influence over operations or assets. Okay, so like shareholder type investments. Private equities is stock in a private company that does not offer stock to the general public. Is offered. I don't really understand. What is a concept? A form of equity capital that is invested in unlisted companies. So in private companies, they invest in private companies. That's what they do. And when the company makes money, they also make money.
I mean, that wasn't a big company.
You think
But
somebody
you
should
need money.
start
You
or
need
buy
a lot of
business
money
in
to
today's
start.
world?
Definitely buy.
Why?
Well, because, it's got a track record. Raising money,
Oh.
like I started with nothing. So raising money becomes very difficult if you're an entrepreneur and a new company. However, if you got a business with a track record, you can go raise money from a bank and then sort of leverage that up to the next deal.
Is it possible to buy a business without a lot of capital?
Yeah, I mean, but you've got to have your own track record. I was in the consulting business, and the banks trusted me, and they knew.
How did you build your relationships with banks?
I did that over a period of 4 or 5 years.
Have you ever
That's
lost
not that
money?
long.
Oh, yeah, I sure have.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of the learning process. If you're an entrepreneur, whether you buy a business or you start a business, you're an entrepreneur. You're really in business for yourself at the end of the day.
For people that don't understand private equity, how do you make money in private equity?
You buy companies. I mean, the private equity model is you buy a company and you use the assets of that company to borrow against those and ultimately pay those off through the cash flow of the business.
Among the most successful
What did he say? Use the assets to buy against those? What does that even mean?
people that you've met throughout your
What does that even mean? What does that even mean? We're Chat GPT in this, gang. We're Chat GPT in this. We're Chat GPT in this. What does it mean to use assets of a company you buy when you look. When you buy a company, what does it mean to use those assets to buy against them? Right? That's what he said, right?
Private equity model is you buy a company and you use the assets of that company to borrow against those.
To borrow against those. When you buy a company, you gain ownership of its assets. Like, to borrow against those assets means you use their value as collateral to use. Okay. So you use the assets to get money. You use the assets as collateral, as a sort of like credit check, kind of. You know what I mean? You own the assets now, 1 million equipment, 2 million. Let's say you go to a lender, say, I want to borrow 1 million. If I can't repay it, you take this equipment. Wow. Why do this? Because access capital without giving up equity. Fuel growth, leverage what you own to create more value. Wow. Holy shit, bro. Dangerous when done blindly. Some people like just got the cheat codes, man.
and ultimately pay those off through the cash flow of the business.
Among the most successful
those
people
off
that
through
you've
the
met
cash
throughout
flow
your
of the
career, what do
business.
they all have in common?
I think whether you're a billionaire or a millionaire, most guys that get into that status are willing to take risks. That's the bottom
Were you a
line.
big risk taker?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What was the biggest risk you took that maybe a lot of people were telling you
Wow.
not to do?
My second deal, I leveraged my house, everything, to buy the
Wow.
You put everything on the table.
I put it on.
Why did you do that?
company. I felt very comfortable that I'd be able to.
Were there some people telling you not to do it?
Oh, for sure.
Were you a little crazy? Just a little bit?
No, not crazy, but I think, you have to really have a lot of confidence in your ability.
A lot of having
yourself.
confidence.
Did you always have that self-belief? Or did it come over
Quantum
time?
I
belief.
had it. I always had it.
And what is a lesson about money that banks don't want people to know?
You already
I don't
know the
if banks
feature's
don't
there.
want
You
to
just
know
got
this,
to reach
but
it.
Leveraging and understanding the difference between margin and the velocity of cash.
Explain that real quick.
The Walmart model. So Walmart, they make a little bit, but they turn that cash so fast, they still make a lot of money. A lot of people don't really understand. They tie margin to how good the business ultimately is going to go. They forget the velocity of cash and the velocity of turning cash.
Did you come from a rich family?
No.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank
How did you change your family's trajectory? What was your turning point to financial freedom? What did you see that made you want to stand out and go?
Well, I bought my first company. The one thing I'll leave you with, advice to anyone, it would be if you're going to get rich, there's a few ways to do it. Maybe you become a CEO of a company, which is pretty hard, but you got to own your own business. That's the way I think you're going to be successful and ultimately make money.
How old are you now?
76.
You look incredible for 76.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. And I'll leave you with this, because you're in private equity. What's the best investment somebody can make in today's world?
Right now, the trend is going to be manufacturing in the U.S.
Why?
Well, because I think we're going to try to onshore, and we're trying to do that more and more, but our private equity firm only buys U.S. manufacturing companies.
Oh,
So you're getting into
wow.
manufacturing. That's what
That's,
you would do.
that's
He
what
made
I
a
would
good
continue.
point, especially because all of this Chinese tariff, all this tariff stuff, they're trying to bring the manufacturing to U.S. to avoid all this the trade wars. Interesting. So he ain't lying.
So you can get rich doing that in today's world.
Oh, for sure.
You got amazing advice. Thank you so much, sir. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you. You guys, Palm Beach was incredible. We just found some of the wealthiest people in the entire country. We interviewed several.
All right, that's it for the video. This is an interesting one, man. I hope you learned something. Leave a thumbs up and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the video. Are you trying to get rich? Do you own your own business? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.